All right, we are live. Sports update. Right back at y'all Tuesdays 8 o'clock. Reid, Adrian was good.
What's doing good? Sorry for the late start, fellas. Ripping and running.
Wavy, we here now. We here now. We in the building. All right, so OU, Oakland University. Adrian, your alma mater, just won the Horizon League. 20 went 20-11 this year. Greg Campy and the boys. So, do you think they did enough to get into the tournament?
Not the Horizons are one big league, so they gotta go and finish the job and win the conference tournament, and leave no stern unturned, no doubt. I believe Gary Campy's in his 40th year, which is wild. I feel like he's been at their school since it's been established, but I'm happy for the program. They haven't been this good since right before I graduated when they had Khalil Felder, and they struggled to get to the tournament with him. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him so far. But let's go finish the job in this Horizon tournament, man. Trey Townsend, I believe, will be the Player of the Year in the Horizon Conference. So great year by the Oakland Grizzlies, man. I'm very proud.
You think they can make the tournament?
Yeah, they're gonna get the automatic big. I believe they'll win their conference tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about them. I live like 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from OU, but I know we've talked about it before. I like their court. I think it was cool when they made it in the tournament before. I would root heavy for them if they did make it. I like that, kind of a smaller team getting in. They always kind of have a sneaky talented team. So, yeah, I mean, they seem like the best in their division from what I've, obviously seen and looked up. But yeah, I think they'll win, and hopefully they get in the tournament, and I'll definitely root for them if they do. Granted, they'll have a tough ride, but I'll definitely root for them.
Yeah. If they win that Horizon League championship game, I think they're in for sure.
Let me check that. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Raj.
No, I was just gonna move over to MSU. Still have some more on OU.
The Horizon tournament just started yesterday, so the OU doesn't play till Thursday at 7. Their tournaments their opponents to be determined. So I'll keep everybody updated on how they look and how they finish out. But they got a chance to clinch this weekend. So
Absolutely, yeah. We'll see if OU. Who would have thought OU's might make it to the tournament, and Michigan's not. Who would have thought that coming into this? All right, so sticking with the tournament, MSU's right now 17-12. They're a bubble team. They got games left. They got Northwestern at home. Then they're at Indiana on Sunday. So, Adrian, where do you see with this MSU team? Are they in a bubble right now? Do they need to win these last two games to get in?
Yeah, at least win 1-2, but I believe they're still getting in. It's a weaker field this year, especially weaker conference at the bottom of the end, and the Big Ten and the ACC is not as great. Well, my conference when my Tigers are playing, but I believe the ACC has a chance to get 6 or 7 teams in right now. But I do believe Michigan State gets in. That's a big brand for the committee and for the tournament field. They'll find a way to get itself in there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think that, excuse me, I definitely agree. I think that, like Adrian said, it's a big brand. It's good to have them in the tournament. They'll probably be one of those. They'll probably be like in the West, which is always kind of funky to me when we get like the Wings played in the Western Division when they first were, or in the earlier infancy, like playoff or Stanley Cup wins. But yeah, I think that they'll get in. Like Adrian said, big name brand. I think that they probably have a tougher schedule to get in. I think they'll probably be a middle of the pack seed if they get in.
I'll probably say 8 or 9. They'll probably be an 8 or 9 or 10 seed probably.
I was gonna say 8 or 9. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. They got Northwestern at home tomorrow, so we'll see if they take care of business there. But yeah, ultimately, I think they'll get in. I think State should be in there. All right, so sticking with college basketball, Michigan, John Sanderson, the strength and conditioning coach, resigned. We heard there was an altercation situation with Juwan Howard. Michigan currently 8-22, worst record in the Big Ten. So Reid, where you at with Michigan in this whole Juwan Howard situation?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before. It just is it seems like, I mean, when he slept at assistant in Wisconsin, the strength and conditioning coach was trying to kind of intervene, I guess, in a fight between a trainer and Juwan Howard's son Jace, and he told him, you're a student athlete, like whatever it was, and Juwan Howard didn't like that, trying to fight him. So I think I don't know. I definitely think he should have been fired in the middle of the season. As bad as that is, morale. I think you're going from here. If you're at 9 like that. So, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough look on the school on the basketball program, not the school because the school just won a national championship. But it's a tough look on the basketball program for sure. Knowing what you can be, and this is where you're at, bottom of the Big Ten. You get blown out by Ohio State. It's not a good look at all. So yeah, I mean, he should be fired. I think Adrian brought up that he's not going to be fired at the end of the season. So yeah, I mean, I guess maybe try and give him one more run. But if you give him one more run and you start out, your first 10 games, you're under 500 your first 10 games, he should definitely be fired.
Well, the piggyback of what you said, yeah, I'm getting the sense and I'm getting the notion that they're going to give him one more year at least. I think what it is, Warmain was not the brightest guy in the book. I think right now Michigan, all they care about is the football right now. It's been almost 2 months removed from the national championship game, so I think the school could care less about anything else right now. But the fact that the football team was able to finally get another national championship, so I think basketball is on the back burner right now. But the fact what's going on is Juwan Howard's pretty much left the paper trail and all these things he's done. We talked about him punching the assistant coach. Talked about him what he's done this year with suspending Doug McDaniel for half the games. Makes no sense. Making Phil Martelli coach. He had to know he had the heart problem. So I thought he might step away at that point in time. And then we got this situation right now. Michigan basketball, 8-22. Let's not act like they're North Carolina or Kentucky or Duke or whatever. But you cannot be going 8-22. That is highly unacceptable.
In a bad Big Ten this year, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. The Big Ten is horrible. Ohio State was just as bad, but they fired Chris Holtman, and they're playing themselves back into the bubble conversation. So the fact that they're 8-22, and they're not even competitive in these games. They're getting their doors blown off by the likes of Rutgers and Nebraska, usually bottom feeders in the Big Ten. So something has to change. I would make me personally, if I was the AD, I definitely would make a change. The fact was Sanderson's been gone. He left a few months ago, but he made it official last week. So it's just something after something after something with him, and there's just too much noise in the room. But the fact is, Michigan's not going to do anything about their basketball because, like I said, they could care less right now.
Still on the high from winning the national championship for sure.
And their recruiting class is, I believe, last in the Big Ten as well. So,
damn, yeah. Juwan Howard, this is the last leash right here. This is it. You don't get it done next season, you out of there. All right, my last question on college basketball, Adrian. Who do you think was drafted higher, Tyson Walker or Zach Edey?
I would say that's tough because Zach Edey would be more if it was 2005, he would be a top 5 pick. Tyson Walker's on the smaller side of a guard. You know how hard it is for smaller guards to make the league, but I would say Tyson Walker has a better shot to stick in NBA and make it because of the fact that he can score the basketball and he's quick. Zach Edey just is slow. He's dominating college kids. Probably going to win back-to-back player of the year, but I'm going to take my chances and say Tyson Walker. It's like I like Zach Edey what he done in college, but I just don't think it's going to translate well to the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian said it perfectly. I think that the thing with Zach Edey is, as I kind of spoke before a little bit with you, Raj, is that he's just kind of a guy who's beating up on smaller centers in the college basketball world. He'll get the ball in the paint and do a little baby hook, and then he runs back to the other side of the court. I think if you put him up against an Embiid or even a smaller center like Adebayo in Miami, I still think all those guys are just gonna overpower him, and he's not going to be able to do what he does. I mean, we've seen it from guys with the likes of Taco Fall, Luka Garza, former Piston. He's a G League hero now, but I mean, there's those guys that are big centers in college basketball that just don't pan out in the NBA. So it's going more to the small ball, obviously, as we know. Tyson Walker is a smaller guy. He's like Cassius Winston this year for Michigan State. Cassius Winston did get drafted by the Wizards or picked up by the Wizards. But, yeah, I could see Zach Edey getting drafted. And I honestly could see them getting drafted very close together. I think Tyson Walker would probably get drafted just because it's kind of more of a prayer. Zach Edey's probably a guy that's just going to get drafted because he's big. Like, that's all he really offers to you. He doesn't give you anything but a sky hook in the paint. He doesn't give you defense, rebounds rarely, but over an NBA center, he's not going to get that many rebounds. So, yeah, I would take Tyson Walker getting drafted over him, but I definitely think that if they both get drafted, it'll be end of the second round.
Okay, cool. They can boost the stock in the tournament though. If they go on a nice little run, they can boost the stock up. So, all right, cool. So, let's switch over to the NFL. We just seen the combine wrapped up this weekend. So, Adrian, what did you think of JJ McCarthy's performance? He threw.
Yeah, I think he solidified himself as a first round draft pick. Reid sent something in the group chat early between us saying he could be a top 3 pick. It's not happening, and plus it wouldn't be a good spot with or top 5. Yeah, he wouldn't be a good spot in some of those situations. I think the best spot I've seen so far him mock drafted to was probably Minnesota. He would be a great fit with them if Kirk Cousins decides to leave because their coach is an offensive guy, and I think he could make McCarthy look good. But all in all, McCarthy got off to not a great start throwing the football, but after he got a little shaky of a couple of throws, I think he looked good. He looked solid. I think he has more in the tank than what he was able to show at Michigan. So I think his upside's a lot higher than it was at Michigan because I have the ability to open up the offense and be able to throw the ball a little more. So I think he can be a really good starter. I don't know about superstar quarterback, but I think he can be above average to really, really good quarterback in the league.
Yeah, it was top 5. I think they had the Giants trading up to 4 for the Cardinals to pick him. I think that would unless you're trading Daniel Jones or something, I think it's kind of a bad option. He is in terms of athleticism, running wise, obviously not physicality and arm strength. He's not a Josh Allen, but Dable did coach Josh Allen. He's now with the Giants. You could use him in the running game, use him if they did draft him at 4, but I think that'd be a big mistake. He's a young kid, as we talked about on this pod multiple times. He definitely needs some polishing and some refinement. This being said, I'm taking all my Michigan hatred out of this for the draft purposes because now that they're out of college, these guys are all fair game for me to rank. I have no bias towards them anymore. But I still, I think it's ultimately just the formula of when it comes down to there's always one of those guys that rises in the draft. Do I think he's going to be a bust in the NFL? Not necessarily. I think that he'll definitely can be positive for the team. But if you're sending him to a Giants where he might start automatically or compete with Daniel Jones, not sitting behind a true vet. I know Daniel Jones is technically a vet at this point, but he definitely needs to go somewhere where he can sit. If Kirk Cousins was back in Minnesota, that would be a perfect spot for him. If Russell Wilson was still in Denver, that'd be a good spot for him to go. But both those teams, they're drafting in the top 12. If he goes to one of those teams right now and is expected to start day 1, I don't think he's going to progress well as a quarterback because it's not a San Francisco. He's not going to end up being a Brock Purdy. You put him in San Francisco, I bet you he'd play very well. I bet you he'd play to the level of what Brock Purdy did. But if you put him in one of those situations, I don't think he's going to go there. Atlanta would. I think if a team that's looking for a quarterback that doesn't pick up one of these big free agents like Justin Fields or Kirk Cousins, I think Atlanta would be the best option for him team wise because they do have solid offensive weapons around him. They can run the ball with Bijan. That's what he was used to in college. They didn't rely on JJ's arm. As far as the combine stuff, Adrian said he started out shaky. I think his deep ball didn't look the greatest. He did good on the mid-range throws. So I don't think he made his stock go any higher than what it already was. Personally, I think he kind of sat in the same spot. But if he goes to the right place, sure, yeah, he can be a very good NFL quarterback. I think he needs to sit behind someone personally. The best team ultimately for him, I think, is the Seahawks.
I can see that bottom of the first round. I can see that.
I'll go Vikings.
The Vikings, I just don't know what they're doing at quarterback. I heard they're in play for Justin Fields now, but I just think if he went to the Vikings because they don't have Kirk Cousins, I don't know who they would start. Mullins maybe, but he would probably be expected to start for the starting job. It does help that they have Justin Jefferson and Addison. But yeah, I think he would be expected to start for the Vikings.
Yeah, for sure. Blake Corum, he threw up. How many reps he threw up? Was like 27 reps. Yeah, he looked good. I think Harbaugh is going to snatch Blake Corum up in the second round. I think he's going to be a Charger. It makes too much sense.
I sent that in the group. That's what I said. That I think that ultimately the perfect path for the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, the way that he is, he loves to run the ball. He did it when he was in San Francisco. He had a running quarterback. Now you have Justin Herbert, who's one of the better arm talents. But if again, putting all the Michigan bias aside because he's not there anymore, since he's there, I think they should draft Joe Alton, assure that offensive line. Look how far it got Jared Goff, be having a top 3 offensive line for the Lions, or Jalen Hurts. And then you draft Blake Corum in the second because they do need a running back. Those are 2 huge needs for them. Wide receiver is very deep, as we all know and talked about before. You can draft a wide receiver later if you don't keep Keenan Allen. I think the defense needs a little shoring up, but offense, I think, is the big build weapons around Herbert. But yeah, Joe Alt, and put him on that left side at left guard next to Rashawn Slater because he can play guard, and then draft Blake Corum in the second. Like I said in the group chat, I draft Blake Corum in all rookie drafts and dynasty right away, like in the first round. He because they're just gonna. I know they're gonna run the ball. Justin Herbert, don't expect him to throw the ball for as much as he has in the past.
Michigan Chargers, baby.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that makes too much sense. Harbaugh wants to win at the line of scrimmage. He wants to run the ball. So, yeah, Alt and Corum make a bunch of sense there.
What would be a good duo? Sorry, before we move on, a good duo. And I mean, I know they're in a big cap space hell, and he's kind of used up. But if you sure that offensive line, get Derrick Henry and Blake Corum and the Chargers, that'd be pretty scary, and that'd be perfect for Harbaugh because he loves running the ball. You have that big tank in Derrick Henry, and then Corum. I mean, he can catch the ball too. So, yeah, I think that'd be a good 2 if you're looking to make moves. Again, I'm no GM, but I think that would be good for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's somebody got to take Kansas City off the throne. Kansas City keeps winning that division, so yeah, if they have a good draft, they can pull it off for sure. All right, so Adrian, the Broncos end up releasing Russell Wilson. They're taking an $86 million cap hit. So what do you think about this move for the Broncos, and what do you see the Broncos doing at 12? Maybe is that a landing spot for JJ McCarthy?
So that'll be a really good spot for him, I believe. It'll be good. Sean Payton really loves developing quarterbacks, and I think he'd do a good job with JJ. So that's definitely one spot to look at. It may be a surprise team. I don't know, but JJ, my guess is, and I can take this to the grave if I want to, but I believe he will be a top 15 pick guaranteed for sure.
Yeah, I have to change my stance from earlier in the year now that everything's come out. I definitely think he's going to get drafted in the first round just because the way scouts have been talking about him. Again, there's guys that rise. There's guys that fall. I don't think he's going to be the guy that falls anymore, as I thought he was going to last time. It's definitely going to be like a Bo Nix now, I think Penix on his pro day, when he's going to show out on his pro day, and he's going to go back into the first round. That's a guy that I think that Seattle might take because he can sit behind Geno. They're kind of the same quarterback. He's a hometown kid, so I could see that happening. But yeah, I just think that JJ is definitely going to stay in the first round after all the hype that's come out now.
So Adrian, what do you think the market is for Russell Wilson?
What I think is going to happen? I think he'll be a second wave. So once we find out what Baker does, what Kirk Cousins does, what Justin Fields does, I believe once that settles, then they'll be able to see what Russell Wilson signs. I know for a fact he's not going to the Steelers because they're not interested in him. So I said my sleeper team for Russell Wilson was the Minnesota Vikings because we talked about Denver cut him, so they owe him $85 million, and they're taking on that dead money. But it's 39 this year, and I believe it's 45 next year or something, somewhere along those lines. So I appreciate the Broncos for having conviction to be like, let him go. But Russell Wilson is going to take a smaller deal because he's already making almost $40 million. So you can sign him probably to the vet minimum. Maybe he wants a little more, but if I was a team who has a chance of winning, I believe Russell Wilson can still help you win. He still has the tools. I believe he's a top 15 quarterback right now in the league right now. I mean, just me. You look at all the bad quarterback play in the league over the last few years. Come on now. Look what the Patriots brought out there. Mac Jones. Look at the Vikings did after they lost Kirk Cousins. I mean, look at the Raiders quarterback play was bad. I mean, I could go around the league. So it's not good. Derek Carr wasn't that good. Baker Mayfield was pretty good. Bryce Young struggled. So I mean, there's tons of options. I think there's more options for him than what people want to admit. So we can see what happens.
I think the Raiders. I think the Raiders are a good fit for him.
I agree with Adrian. The thing that's cool, that would be funny if he did sign with the Raiders, which I would actually like, I wouldn't mind, is that he plays Denver twice a year. So that'd be really interesting to see him go there and play that. But I ultimately think, I mean, Atlanta's probably the sexiest option for him because of all the weapons and how good they can be. Like Adrian said, I think it's going to be a vet minimum maybe a little bit more than a vet minimum, but he can help you win. I mean, he played well last year. I think he threw for he threw for 30 touchdowns or something last year, didn't he? He threw for 32 and
26 and 8.
Oh, 26. Okay. I may have gave him a little benefit of the doubt. But I mean, 26 and 8, I know that he had the same, not like fantasy really matters in actual football, but he had the same fantasy points as Jared Goff. I mean, he could have a career resurrection in the right spot. I mean, if you put him in Detroit, which I don't want him, but if you put him in Detroit, I think he could have a good season as well there because he still definitely has gas in the tank for sure. Ultimately, place where I want him to go, I mean, Minnesota would be very good for him because, again, you have those great wide receivers. You would want to shore up the offensive line for him and maybe get him a run game, whether it's free agency or drafting one of these guys. I know it's weak a little bit, but in this year's draft. But, yeah, Vikings is probably the best Vikings or Atlanta are probably the best options for him at this point, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Plus, Atlanta's in a weak division.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so and also in free agency, Adrian, we seen the Giants didn't give Saquon Barkley the tag. He's going to become a free agent. So what do you think the market is for Saquon Barkley? Where do you think he signs?
Well, I was reading a report earlier with Tony Pollard, Saquon, Derrick Henry. They're all supposed to be second wave running backs. Like I said, they got devalued, but I think these guys still have a lot left in the tank. But if I was to tell you, I think the perfect fit for Saquon would be, I kind of heard Reid say a little bit with the Houston Texans. They didn't really have a running game last year with Devin Singletary, but can you imagine if you put Saquon behind that team with CJ Stroud and company, that would be amazing. So I think that would be the perfect fit for Saquon, or even the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers would. Well, I mean, honestly, I think the Texans is the perfect landing spot for Saquon. I know that C.J. Stroud's been trying to recruit him heavy. You know, I'm a big C.J. Stroud guy. Like you said, Devin Singletary, I don't think will be back with the Texans. They have Dameon Pierce under contract, I think, for one more year. He's a smaller back compared to Saquon, but I mean, Saquon can do everything that they need for a running back. They just signed Dalton Schultz to a 3-year contract or 3-year deal. So I think Texans ultimately would be the best place for him. I think he's Saquon, 26, 27, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
he's one of the younger ones in the free agency pool. So I wouldn't go after a Tony Pollard because he's not a 3-down guy. He's definitely, a lightning to someone's thunder. Derrick Henry's obviously older, got a lot
27.
of 27. So Derrick Henry's got a lot of tread gone on his tires. He probably needs to go somewhere where he'll be utilized on first and second down maybe. And then you have a smaller back with him. But yeah, I think the Houston Texans ultimately is going to be where he goes. Tank Dell, I think they said that once they tweeted out that he wasn't getting franchise tagged, Tank Dell quote tweeted it and said let's go or something like that. So I think that's where he's going to end up. I think that's just the perfect fit for him.
Yeah, Texans make a lot of sense. And my sleeper team is the Ravens. Go team up with Lamar. I think if the Ravens have a good draft, good free agency, they load up. They could definitely be back in the mix. So Texans make a lot of sense, and the Ravens as well. All right, so Adrian Lions made a move. They re-signed quarterback Emmanuel Mosley. How'd you like that move?
I'm fine with it. I don't think it's anything special. I just think it's insurance to see if he can get healthy and give the Lions some type of contribution. That goes to just show you how bad the cornerback play was last season. So maybe they expect him to come back from injury and do some type of contribution because we know Jerry Jacobs was bad. I know he got released. We got Sutton, but Sutton needs to be playing a slot or a smaller role, not starting as a number one corner for the Lions. So that goes to show me the Lions are going to be heavily involved and active either in free agency or via the draft. So there's going to be major upgrades, I believe, at the cornerback position. So even be possibly looking out for possible trade for L'Jarius Sneed, Kansas City Chiefs cornerback. So that's something I'm really keeping an eye out for. And I think the Lions make that. That's a huge splash move.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, like Adrian said, it's just kind of an insurance move and almost like another prove-it deal. I know this last one was supposed to be a prove-it deal. Lions, get rid of your turf field, please. But yeah, I think he's gonna. I think it was insurance. He probably didn't get paid much. I don't know what his last deal was. I forgot. It was so long ago. But I mean, if he can come and play and swap out for Cam Sutton, maybe give Cam Sutton a break on like a 2 or maybe play the 3 guy if Brian Branch can develop a little bit better at corner. I know a lot of people keep saying that because they got rid of Tracy Walker, I don't think CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to sign back here. I think he's going to go somewhere else, unfortunately. They like their safety room with Iffy, and everybody says, oh, Brian Branch can move back to safety. I think he's going to stay at corner. I think they're going to leave him at corner with how well he played. He played well in the slot against guys. So, ultimately, it's insurance. It's nice. I want him to stay healthy for a full year. I want every player to stay healthy for a full year, no matter how much I like or dislike them. But, I think it's insurance. They need to go and get – I ultimately think with – a lot of guys that are getting freed up now. The Lions, I think, are going to be more active in free agency than people think.
I'd seen Christian Wilkinson, D lineman for the Dolphins. I'd like to see them offer him a contract. You line him up next to Hutch and McNeil. They could do some damage.
Now, my only thing is, I know we don't really care much about the cap. I would be interested to know what his number is because he's young. They also released Xavier Howard, another guy that if you don't get a big name corner, you could potentially sign him. Hopefully he stays healthy. I don't necessarily think he's a cornerback 1 anymore. He is 30. He's a little bit up there in age, but he's had monster seasons in the past. I think he's a 7-time Pro Bowler. He's had a season with 10 interceptions before. So he could be a name to watch out for if they don't make a big splash signing like that. I don't think they're going to go defensive end anymore. I don't think Danielle Hunter is going to be a Lion. I think he's going to go somewhere else. But, I would love Christian Wilkins. If you draft Christian Wilkins, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to draft my guy, Brandon Fisk. But I think if you get Wilkins, he's a vet. He was so good for the Dolphins. Probably one of their most consistent players last year other than Tyreek Hill. So, I would love to offer him a contract. That's him. If you get him and Snead, Lions are going to jump up huge in the Super Bowl favorites. Again, what do you have to pay them? Because Snead's going to want an extension, and Wilkins, I think, is up for an extension. Correct. So, I mean, again,
he's a free agent. Yeah, he's a free agent. But I mean, you have a lot of options on the table. Plus, there's going to be guys that get released or want to be traded. More free agents available than we thought. We didn't know Xavier Howard was going to be available. That Snead may be up for availability. So, I mean, we have about a week left until free agency starts. So I think it's going to be a crazy frenzy. So I think there's going to be some unexpected moves that the Lions make that fans are going to be pretty pleased with.
Well, they dropped, and Dolphins also got rid of I think his name's Jerome Baker, if I remember. He's 27. He's a young linebacker. He played really well. He's had a couple hundred tackle seasons. Like, that's a guy to maybe keep an eye out for. I know you have Anzalone and Campbell and Barnes, but so I don't expect them to take him. I do think they do need a linebacker, one more linebacker at least. But yeah, there's a lot of guys, like Adrian said, in free agency that you can go out there and get. Brad Holmes has said that he doesn't draft for need; he signs for need. So I think the draft is going to be more unexpected than people think. Whether he trades up for, I know a lot of people are talking about. A big rumor that's just been spiraling around after the combine was that they're going to trade for that Quinyon Mitchell guy out of Toledo. So if that happens, that would be pretty big. But again, that's drafting for need. So I don't know if Brad Holmes, I mean, he is kind of similar to Devon Witherspoon. And then that everybody was saying that they were going to take him at 6 if he was there. But if he falls to middle of the draft, anywhere from 15 to 20, I would maybe move up and take him. It depends on what you're giving away. You're going to have to give away probably one of your thirds that you have this year. But I expect Brad Holmes to do something crazy in the draft, and maybe draft another offensive player. I know you don't want to hear it, Raj, but maybe a wide receiver, because they do need an X. They need an X, because
not in the first round.
I would take. It depends on who's there, but I would take one. I would take one in the first round for sure. He's surprised people before. with the Gibbs pick and everything like that. So I know he can find talent in the later rounds too. So I wouldn't, obviously not dead set on that, but he never drafts for really need in the draft.
Hey, I mean, Blake Corum will probably be there. That's not a need, but you could.
Yeah, that's a little bit different of a situation. You play 3 wide receivers; they already have 2 solid running backs, so a little bit different. If you didn't draft Gibbs last year, I would be fine with taking Corum, but they have Gibbs.
Yeah. No, I'm just messing around. But yeah, we got to see what they do, man. With free agency fully opens next week, right? Is it the 13th?
The 13th, yep. A week from tomorrow.
Week from tomorrow. So yeah, we're definitely on the lookout for that. So Adrian, Pistons coming out the half right now. They're up 65-61 over the Heat right now. So me personally, I think the Pistons are going to end up with a top 3 pick in this year's draft. So do you think if they end up with a top 3 pick, they should take a 19, 20-year-old or trade that pick for a vet?
No, you gotta somehow figure out to trade it to get a vet. I don't know who they get right now. We talked about it before we went live, but I don't know. You can't draft another 18, 19-year-old and expect to be competitive or do anything. I don't know right now what the direction this team's going. I guess as you call it, Troy Weaver continues to make these moves, and I don't believe he knows what he's doing. But they're going to probably try to throw a boatload of money at a Miles Bridges in the offseason. They could have got Cam Johnson this past year. They could have did a lot of things, but they're more reactive than proactive, man. So I don't know. It's kind of I just don't see it right now. I don't know what they do unless Troy Weaver pulls off a heist on the team and figures it out. But we'll see, I guess so.
Yeah, I ultimately would take the younger guy just because of the where your team is at. Unless you can get a solid vet, as we talked about before this all happened. Obviously, you're not going to just trade a lottery pick for a guy who I has said was like a Domantas Sabonis, which you're not going to get because the Kings aren't going to get rid of him anyway. But if you get him or like a Lauri Markkanen, you need somebody that can shore up that 4 spot, that can shoot a 3, that can play defense. But if you're doing that, you're going to have to trade away this pick and probably next year's pick unprotected, and maybe another player on your roster. So I ultimately think, I don't think it's 100% that they're going to pick in the top 3 if they do get a top 3 pick. But again, like I told you before the show started, if you go into this and you have a top 3 pick and you draft a guard or a center, Troy Weaver should be fired on the spot. He should not be allowed to make any other picks the rest of the night. And whoever can take over for him should trade or swap that pick for another one back in the draft and take someone else. But yeah, I ultimately think they're going to make it. This team is far away from competing for any type of trophies. So yeah, Cade obviously showed you all the people earlier in the year saying trade Cade. We're just idiots. He showed you that he's a superstar, that he should be an all-star. He just plays on a very bad team. So it's ultimately going to be one of those 19, 20-year-olds that they draft this year, and they'll probably be starting, whether it's Alexander Sarr or someone else. I ultimately would just trade the pick back out of the top 3 if there's not a guy there that you like that can play the 4, because that is your biggest need. That can be 3 and D. I know Sarr is going to be a 3 and D at the 3 because he does play great defense already. He just needs to get a shot down, which he's been doing a lot more of. But yeah, I think that ultimately you draft, whether you move back and you draft that one kid whose name I can never remember.
Zachary Ricochet.
No, the G League guy. He was in the Rising Star game this year.
Montez Bazelis.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was flipped around. But yeah, I think he's 6'10". He can shoot the ball. If you trade back, you take him. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a top 3 pick. If Washington gets 1, they'll probably take Alexander Sarr. I think that guy does fit perfectly in what you need. But this team's far away. Even if a vet comes in, you still got to sign him and sign Cade, and then you have Ivy and Duran. Like, there's a lot of guys that you got to figure stuff out with. This team's just not anywhere close to competing for anything. Not even a play-in game at this point.
Yeah, they end up with a top 3 pick. I'd hit up maybe like some type of package deal. Hit up the Pelicans, try to get Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. That'll speed things up quick if you get both those guys here.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that because Ingram can probably play the 4 for you if you needed him. He's long, right? He's like 6'11", 6'10".
Yeah.
He can shoot the 3. So, and then McCollum good vet to have. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind that. Again, I mean, will Troy Weaver be able to put that together? He's shown that he can trade and get a solid player when he got Duran. And I mean, you thought Stu was going to be good. Sasser's a good guard coming off the bench late in the draft, but
no direction.
I don't have a lot of hopes, man. It's so sad because I've given up on basketball a long time when the Pistons didn't have any good, and then they draft Cade, and I came back into the Pistons, and now it's just heartbreak every time. Like the game they played last game, they didn't even play their starters in the second half, and I have no clue why. They could have maybe come back and made it a close game, but Amonte just sat Cade and Ivy and allowed Fournier and Sasser to get 20-plus minutes a game. It just Ivy, Cade, and Duran should be playing at 30-plus minutes a night.
I at this point in the season, I agree. You might as well, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the direction. Even after that Knicks game last week, you just never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. So stick with the NBA. I do got a nice 3-pick parlay prop bet I want to put out there. You got
Eric.
I got Bradley Beal for 3 3-pointers. That's plus 360. Michael Porter Jr. 20 points. That's plus 175. And Jokic 10 assists. That's plus 105. You bet $10 on that, you win 180. So
Good parlay. I like it.
Let me tell you why I like that parlay, Raj. One is because you know automatically Joker is going to get 10 assists because he's averaging the triple-double. He basically gets that every time. The Suns aren't a great defensive team. They don't have a bench. Booker is out, so Beal's going to be taking all those threes for Booker. That's why I like the threes. And MPJ is probably just going to be playing a crazy offensive game because, once again, the Suns just don't play defense. I think that's a great parlay to put together, especially for this game. A late game, you want to watch it, you want to sweat a little bit. MPJ, honestly, out of all that, which is crazy because the 3-pointers, I think, is the highest odds in that whole thing. MPJ getting the 20 is the part that scares me the most out of all of it, just because it could be an off night for him. But I think he can do it because, again, the Suns' defense just isn't great.
Jokic he's guaranteed to get you a double-double every night and possibly a triple-double. So while you just said that, I just put that little parlay in for the boys for the night. So
okay. There we go.
I threw it in earlier.
No Devin Booker tonight, and the Suns duo of Kevin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal played a combined 23 games this season.
Yes, sir. Good luck on that parlay. So last thing on the NBA. So Adrian, where do you see the Lakers? Do you think are the Lakers a legit threat in the West?
I'll say this: the Lakers, I believe, can make some noise. I believe they can beat any team in the Western Conference. They have a shot to beat any team in the Western Conference besides the Denver Nuggets. So I guess you could say yes, they're a threat to make some noise. But I think last night was more of an aberration than anything. The Lakers just match up very well with the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are a more finesse team. The Lakers are physical, strong. So I don't think the Thunder are young. A team like Minnesota, a team like the Clippers, a team like Denver matches up better with the Lakers. The Timberwolves play great defense. They have a superstar Anthony Edwards. They've got Karl-Anthony Towns. They got Rudy Gobert. They got Jay McDaniels. They got a lot of bodies. And just the way the Lakers are continuing to shoot the lights out the basketball, especially D'Angelo Russell. So I do think they are, but I think you just cannot ask LeBron to do this to get 16 wins in the playoffs and be able to play at 2011 LeBron James level again in the playoffs, especially when you get down there. He's playing. You can't expect him to play 40, 42 minutes a night and still have some left in the tank. I know he's still good, but he can give it to you in spurts. So I do think they are, but I don't see them getting to the Western Conference Finals like they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think they can make it into the playoffs. So they'll probably win. They got to be in a play-in game, I would assume.
The Warriors right now would be the play-in teams to play against each other. Yeah,
and I think they could beat the Warriors because Clay's coming off the bench. The Warriors are kind of in a weird spot right now. They can be good. They can be hot and they can be not. So, I could see him doing it and making it in. But again, like Adrian said, I don't see him making it to the Western Conference Finals because they're going to have to end up. I think they lose to Denver personally. They would have a good chance against Minnesota and OKC, just because OKC's young and the Lakers, have been there before. LeBron's been there plenty of times. AD's been there. So do they make it to the Western Conference Finals? No, but I definitely think they can make it to the playoffs and maybe give one of those upper echelon teams that are in the West right now a good run for their money in a first round. But I ultimately think they would just lose in the first round. I think they could win the play-in against Golden State, but I think they would lose in the first round personally. It all depends on how hot D'Angelo Russell can be. Austin Reeves can come out, and obviously LeBron has to. He's not. Like Adrian said, he's not 2011 LeBron anymore. He's still playing really good. I mean, he's still playing phenomenal basketball right now for being, 20 years in the league. But, at that, once the playoff comes around, everybody's playing a lot different. And the competition, you're playing good competition every night. You're not playing, easy competition. You're not playing the Pistons like when they absolutely dismantled them a few weeks ago.
Yeah. All right, so last thing I want to close it out with UFC this Saturday, bantamweight title fight. Reid, you got Sean O'Malley with the rematch against Chito Vera. How you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if you guys saw it, but Aljamain Sterling said that Chito didn't have a good camp. He could just be lying about it this whole time and just say that because Sean O'Malley beat him and he just wants, maybe Sean O'Malley will take it as gospel and relax, which I don't think is actually going to happen because it's a combat sport. But I think ultimately O'Malley, he's lost to Chito before. I think that he wants revenge. I think he's obviously the hottest, one of the hottest fighters in UFC right now. I think he does come out and win. I think he knocks out Chito. I think he knocks him out in round 2. That's what I'm calling.
Okay.
Sean O'Malley has a lot to prove right now. I seen him on First Take earlier today talking to Shannon and Stephen A. But he's got a lot to prove. He's hungry. He's not happy about that loss. He suffered against him the first time. I believe he knocks him out in the first round.
Oof.
First round knockout. Okay. Yeah. I'm running with O'Malley. Clean sweep here. The rematch it's only right. He's hot right now. He's on the win streak. I'm running with O'Malley. It makes too much sense. So.
The only reason I don't say it would be a first round, I almost said third round knockout because the first round is always feeling the opponent out for the most part in UFC, unless he comes out guns blazing, which could happen because I think he does want to knock him out and make an actual statement. So that's how I see it happening in the first round. But I ultimately think it's going to be first round. They're going to feel each other out. Second round, they'll feel each other out. But later with the last 2 minutes left in the second round, I think that Sean O'Malley's going to end up knocking him out.
Yes, sir. All right, cool. Well, yeah, there it is. Well, yeah, anything else you guys want to add before we get up out of here?
Just want to say North Carolina just clinched a share at least of the ACC regular season title. Just beat Notre Dame on senior night. Baycott's career is about to be done, and we get to finish out the season at Duke. So my hated rival. So nothing makes me more happier than going into Cameron Indoor and beating Duke.
That'll be nice. Do you guys think? I know that we got until Friday. Do you think Stevie Y's going to make any big moves? Larkin's going to be out for a little bit now that they announced he had a lower body injury, what that means, because NHL doesn't disclose injuries. So I don't know how bad it is or what it even is. But do you think Stevie Y's going to try and go for any offensive guys now that they don't have their captain center?
I don't think so.
Because you're still in the playoff hunt and you can make moves. I think he's going to make a move for a defenseman ultimately, but do you think he'll try and put in a little Band-Aid for Larkin?
Yeah, I think he will. That Larkin's hurt. I don't think it's a big crazy splash. I'm not sure exactly who's out there available on the market, but I do think Stevie Y gets active for sure.
I just want him to get a big defenseman to shore up to actually help your goaltender out, because I think that's the main ingredient that you're missing. My last thing I wanted to bring out, and I wanted to bring it up earlier, but move through the topics. Do you who would you guys want? Well, I mean, obviously Adrian's not, but a Lions fan. But who do you guys want ultimately Brad Holmes to take? Who's your number one guy that you want him to go for?
Number one guy, I'll say L'Jarius Sneed.
Well, in the draft.
On the draft, I'm gonna go.
Let's just say right now there's no big signing. So whatever position.
No trade. I'd go. I'd go corner. I'm gonna say Quinyon Mitchell is my guy.
Trade up for Quinn?
Yeah.
Okay. Raj?
I say go DN. Somebody put on the other side of Hutch. Who I'm not sure who's going to be available where they're at.
A lot of it is Chop Robinson, that Breland Trice kid out of Washington.
Who's the guy that's here from Detroit? Does he play for Missouri?
Yeah, Missouri. Darius Robertson.
Yeah,
Robinson. Yep.
Yeah, I like Robertson.
Okay. Yeah, I ultimately think I think he's going to go off the walls, and I think it's going to be some sort of wide receiver. I think it's going to be a big-bodied wide receiver. Whether it's the guy that I want them to take in Keon, and I know a lot of people got scared from the 40, but when you saw him doing that drill, the catch drill like this, I mean, he was just straight line. If you follow him, they did a tracker. You follow him, he's straight line, 20 miles an hour, running down that straight line, catching all those passes. So I would like a big body that's X wide receiver.
Ryan Thomas Jr.
There you go. Yeah, that could be another. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think that's ultimately if again, this isn't like I said, not making any big signings in free agency, but I think that's going to happen. But I would like them to draft a big body wide receiver.
Yeah, I just don't want to see it in the first round. I mean, if Coleman is there, maybe. But I'd rather do that second or third round. Go defensive lineman, corner, D lineman or corner, DN or corner. That's what I want to see.
The only reason I say the big X wide receiver is because J-Mo's obviously your sprint down the field and throw the ball up to him, and he's probably going to catch it in the sense of he'll catch it a bucket in the basket. St. Brown's your slot guy that you go to for the first down. Same with Laporta. You need a guy that's in the red zone that can go up and get the ball like a Julio Jones or a Mike Evans or someone like that, and they don't have that. Josh Reynolds is supposed to be that guy. Whether they re-sign him or not, I don't know. He was obviously not reliable in that NFC Championship game, but they need a guy that they can go to in the red zone. The red zone percentage was horrible this year. It was bottom of the league. So they need a big X wide receiver that they can throw to in the red zone. They can go up and grab the ball. That's the only reason I say that.
Cornelius Johnson out of Michigan.
I don't know how big Cornelius Johnson is personally.
6'4", 6'5".
There you go. I mean, yeah, sure. In the first round, I don't know if I would take him in the first round.
Not in the first round, no.
But I mean,
I wouldn't be mad if they took an offensive lineman either, because I don't know if you're going to be able to pay Jonah Jackson. So if you take another guard, if they take another offensive lineman and add to their strength, I wouldn't be mad at that either. I wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say if you're gonna go offense, that's fine. Just keep building towards your strength and keep that as strength. So
I know some of the big names to look for, which I'm watching all the interviews of him. Is a huge Dan Campbell guy. The way that he talks, the way that he acts is Joseph Jackson Powers Jones, I think was his name.
No, Jackson Powers Johnson. The Steelers have been rumored towards him. He's a center, so a lot of teams have been looking at him. I know he's been a big Steelers target. So,
I mean, I wouldn't mind drafting him. I know they just have him as offensive line, so maybe he can move to guard. And I know Ragnow, his future's uncertain, so maybe put him at center once Ragnow retires. Another guy that I like personally is Christian Hayes out of UConn. He did really well at the pro day or Senior Bowl, I mean, and I think that you could put him in a guard position. Just don't re-sign Jonah Jackson. I don't think you need to re-sign a guard personally. You can draft one. They have Colby Sorsdale that they drafted last year at guard. If you're re-signing one of them, I'm re-signing Graham Glasnow because he can just go anywhere on the O-line. So that would be my only, if you're going to re-sign him, because you can get him cheap. Hometown guy from Michigan, and we drafted him before he came back. He'd be the guy I want. But yeah, Hayes, I think you can get in like the third round with your Minnesota pick or your later third round pick.
For sure.
That's all I have. I just want to talk a little bit more draft. That was all. I know we'll get more to it, but
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, well, there it is. Yeah, good show, fellas. Good stuff. And sports update. Everybody watching, make sure you like the video for me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and We'll see you guys next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Peace.
Peace.